So, hello everyone. My name is Dietz Techmiros, and I'd like to talk about getting money for startups, sort of more practical side. So, a couple of words about myself. Since 2007, I've been working in the venture capital industry, investing in startups and expansion stage companies in Latvia. Also, I'm a private investor in one startup called Artbag, which produces handbags that clients can customize on website. And a couple of words about Capitalia. It's an investment and a financial advisory company that specializes on small and medium enterprises. And apart from investing money, we also consult entrepreneurs on getting money from other people. But now let's talk about getting money for a startup. This graph is pretty similar to the one showed before, which basically shows that the source of financing is really dependent on the stage your company is in. I mean, if you only have a business idea and that's it, probably you won't be able to raise much money besides having your own money, your friends and family, and possibly attracting some dumb money grants. Now, if you move forward and you have already some kind of more advanced idea of business, sort of like business model figured out, and some kind of sort of seed stage, you could be thinking about attracting private investors or seed funds. In the later stages, startup and growth stages, there are venture capital funds, and we'll talk mainly about those three things today. So why is it that for each stage there is different type of money you can get? Well, first it's the amount. For instance, if you are really early in your company development, you probably won't be able to attract 10 million in IPO. I mean, it is possible for tech startups, but for small business idea, it's not possible. So that's one of the reasons. Another reason is risk and return. Basically, the more mature a company is, the less risky it is. It is usually so. And any investor would like to get compensated for his money. And I put some just indicative numbers there. You shouldn't take those for granted. But I mean, this shows what kind of return investor would be looking at if he decides to invest in your company. So in the really early stage, I put 0 or infinity, because basically for grants, they don't expect anything back, so it's a 0. And for you, well, anything till infinity goes. But for other investors, the more mature it is, the less they expect to make, considering the riskiness. So that's why if you are a really scalable startup, which is just starting to develop, anyone who will give you money will expect to make a lot of money himself, because the risk is huge. There is a really likely chance that he will lose his money. On the other hand, if you are so-called lifestyle business with some pledges and so on, you can get commercial banks lend you money at 5%, say. So there's really a distinction between companies that are risky and less risky. So let's start with founders, friends, and family. Well, this is pretty straightforward. You put your own money in your business idea to develop it, and you try to get some more money from your friends, either as co-founders or just getting money from them or your family. But the crucial thing here is to really make sure that all the parties involved know what they are risking with. I mean, you don't want to take money from your friend, and then when you lose it, he says, well, but hey, how did you lose it? And he maybe would like to get his money back. So you must make sure that anyone who gives you money understands that he might lose it. Otherwise, you might lose friends or, well, you can't lose family really, but still. Grants. Well, the dumb money, so to say. Well, it's kind of free money, but it has strings attached. Well, firstly, you have to meet certain needs, certain criteria of the grants that are usually provided by state. And here I have listed some grants that are currently operative in Latvia. Well, first is the Hypothek Bankas loan, which is subsidized, and part of it you might get back as a grant. Then there is Nodarbinātības valsts aģentūra, which basically, if you are unemployed, you write a business plan, submit it, and you might get 2,000 latvs, which is really a little for scalable businesses. But I mean, not everyone is making scalable and tech businesses. So if you are more of a lifestyle business, which is really fine, this is where you can go to. There are two kind of business plan competitions you might enter. One is Atspēriens, Lotus is Ideikaus. Basically, you write the business plan and you hope to get money from them. Which is not bad. Again, if the amount you need is really small and your idea is kind of interesting. I mean, in those you shouldn't expect to win anything if you want to make just another car repair shop. But on the other hand, you don't have to make the next Google to win this. So, yeah. Then there are business incubators, and I must apologize for including TechHub under them. Yeah, so forget it.
Spreading the wrong message, though.
Yeah. Yeah, forget about that one. But basically, what they do is they typically provide subsidized space for both office and production, and sometimes they also finance some kind of fixed assets and services. And well, there are many of them which are state financed, all the bottom parts. There is one corporate business incubator by Madura Cosmetics. There are also a couple of technology transfer centers and business incubators in universities. So I understand most of you or all of you are students. So basically, if you want to start something, you might be going to your university to find out if they have any program to help you. All right. So private investors and business angels. Usually to get money from them, you need to be past the just business idea phase. You have to have some business model figured out and maybe started already doing something. What are private investors? Well, basically they are wealthy individuals who want to invest money. And if we talk about business angels, they are kind of private investors but with business experience, and they will give you more than just money. They will give you smart money, so to say. And what they do is they invest for shares in a company, hoping to grow the company together with you, help you a lot, and in the end sell their shares and get the money. But unlike some institutional investors, they are more flexible on exit horizon because they don't have to exit the fund in, say, 5 years or so. So some of them might be in for longer term. But where to meet such guys, you know? If you have someone from your family wealthy, that's good. Or if you have a friend who's really wealthy, that's also good. But if you just a regular normal guy, where do you meet those? Well, one idea is to use the Padot Business website, which is kind of the largest website where you can put your business idea and say, hey, I want to track financing, and someone might be interested in it. There are two kind of organizations who feature events where you can meet investors. You present your ideas and talk to investors. They are called Connect Latvia and Seed Forum. There are also business angel networks, but I couldn't say they are really active in Latvia. There are kind of some individuals from them are active, but yeah. Well, there is this one called Latvijas Privāto Investoru Asociācija, but I can't think of any recent investments any of them have made. So, alright, so if nothing of this works, well, where do you get the private investors. You might want to consider looking for some industry experts or successful entrepreneurs in the field you want to start your business. For instance, if you want to start your business in telecommunications, you might see, oh, hey, there's this company, Softechnica, which is really successful. What's the guy behind it? And actually, he's one of the private investors who invests in many tech projects. So that's how you should think kind of about attracting private investors. Next, when it's kind of seed funds invest in the same phase as private investors usually. So what are they? They are basically funds that invest in really early stage companies, and this is usually for finalizing prototype and starting business activities. That means they invest in companies which haven't yet really started selling stuff and clients and so on. They invest to get them to this stage. That's why when they invest, they basically anticipate that there will be further investment rounds. Usually seed money, it's not enough to get you to the really going part. And currently there is in Latvia only one seed fund operating, which is Imprimatur Capital. It invests up to 100,000 euros and 200. Oh, sorry. And it focuses more on technological enterprises, kind of tech startups. And again, these are more financeable actually in this stage. But there are new funds to be launched soon. Well, there is this Latvian Guarantee Agency which kind of invests state money in funds who further invest money in companies. So pretty soon we might expect some new funds appearing. Venture capital. So how is it different from seed? Well, first, it invests in a bit later stage. It invests in startups and possibly expansion stage companies. So what does it really mean? How does a startup phase differ from seed phase? Well, in startup phase, your prototype is already finished and you start really making business. And so that's when you might be looking at venture capital. Typically, any investment fund will take shares, equity portion. However, the structure might be a bit complex, like convertible loans and some options. Say, if you perform really well, then you get additional shares. You should really consider that any investor has some kind of investment horizon. And for funds, it's typically 4 to 6 years, meaning in 4 to 6 years, the fund wants to exit the investment. So it's either you sell the company together with the investor to some other party, or you buy back the venture capital part. But again, it depends on the company. Currently, there are kind of 3 venture capital funds. One is Imprimatur Capital, a venture fund, which is kind of more like a startup fund, which invests up to 1 million. Then there is Baltcup Venture Capital Fund, which invests up to 3 million in each company. There is ABLV Private Equity Fund, which kind of invests in more in later stage companies primarily and larger businesses. And then there are a couple of investment firms who don't have actual funds, but might consider investing venture capital on individual basis. So there's Capitalia, ZGI, Eco Investors, and probably some more companies. And again, new funds might be coming soon. Some other useful contacts to consider. Well, the first 3 are like consultants, mentors, where you can just, get someone to talk to about your startup, and they might help you figure out your business model. If you need money, how much you need, where to get it. So that's free of charge. You just get someone to talk to. And then there are those tech project kind of events and accelerators. startups on and Garage, and previous presenter talked about them already, so I won't talk about. So what do startup investors actually look for in a company? Well, really important thing is the team. I mean, for a startup to succeed or fail, this is really crucial because, I mean, for existing businesses, the business might not be so dependent on the owners, on the managers. But if you are really starting up, that's really important to have the core team complete. And yeah, for instance, if you want to start a IT company, you better have someone who knows something about IT. And really important is personality chemistry factor, which is it's a soft thing, but basically it means if investor likes the guy. I mean, the guy might be super experienced in the field, and he might have all the skill sets and all the things figured out, but the investor, if he feels that he couldn't work with him, he probably won't invest. Next, about product and business operations. Well, first, you must understand what you want to build, and you have to be able to explain it to someone. Because if you don't understand yourself, well, nobody will invest. Next, business is scalable. Well, this depends if it's to borrow the terms lifestyle or scalable business. I mean, for tech projects, definitely it should be scalable. Also, ability to pivot, meaning if one way you are going with the product or service, if it fails, it's a good thing if you can switch to totally different maybe product or service and still continue. So it's not only in one direction only, and if you fail, that's it. You go bankrupt. About market, well, this is pretty straightforward. And again, about finances, it's really important to have clear exit strategy for investor, meaning for a lifestyle business which you as owner you manage, and the business can't run on its own. Basically, no investor would invest in such a business because he won't be able to exit from it. So what are the practical steps if you want to prepare for attracting an investor, be it private investor or a fund? First, you have to always remember that meeting an investor is like a job interview. You want to show what you know, what you are good at, and basically sell yourself to get the money. You should have an elevator pitch ready, which is basically 2 to 3 sentences easily explaining what you plan to do or are doing, how you do it, and how you make the money, basically. It's really important to have those couple of sentences, because if you can't explain something in really short sentences, you probably don't understand yourself what you're going to do. If you send something in written, don't go for more than 2 pages. I mean, no one wants to read 10 pages about something they might not be even interested in. So if you ever find yourself sending to an investment fund or some private investors, try to keep it short. About business plans, well, normally they are not required, but you have to have the stuff figured out. And I must know that, well, for grants and funds, business plans are typically required, but for private investors, they might not. But what you have to always know is how much money do you need to get to a certain point. For instance, be it finished prototype, product, or before you get break even, or some kind of really important milestone. The investment amount should be fixed, and the investment share, what investor will get, well, this is something to be discussed. So how do you determine how much to give to investor. I mean, for instance, you say you need 100,000 lats to reach some goal, for instance, to start making money. Well, if you offer 25% to a potential investor, that means that your 75% are worth 300,000. So that's really important to figure out, well, how much is really your share worth. I mean, if you go to an investor and say, hey, I just had this idea and it is worth 300,000, well, he might not be interested in this. So this is something really to consider, that asking money means you have something. What not to do? As I explained, you have to be able to explain your business in really short sentences. You should avoid saying such things as no competition, no risks, and so on, because they are never true. I mean, competition, it's not only direct competition, but there are definitely some kind of competition in the field you're in. You should not fear that the investor will try to grow your business, try to help you grow the business, because, I mean, that's why they invest the money. They want to earn something, and they want to help you grow as much as possible. So you shouldn't be afraid that they will teach something new to you. You shouldn't be afraid of talking about your ideas, because that's how you meet potential co-founders or potential clients. And if you talk about your idea, someone might have some contacts for you or some new ideas. And if you keep it a secret, of course, you might feel safer that no one will steal your idea. But actually, if all it takes to make a competition for you is just to know your business idea, then it clearly sucks, basically. Because, I mean, implementation is the 95% of all of this. Just a business idea, it's nothing. I mean, if Google said, hey, we want to make a new search algorithm, well, that's nothing. I mean, if you don't implement it, it doesn't make any sense to steal it. You shouldn't put too much emphasis on technical detail if investor is not that tech savvy. I mean, if you are an IT guy and you are raising money from a kind of private investor who has nothing to do with IT, you don't want to talk about SQL queries and stuff. You just, don't go in too much technical detail. About hockey sticks. Well, for scalable businesses, hockey sticks is usually how it goes. But I mean, you shouldn't expect to get them. You shouldn't expect to make $1 million in sales in next year and base your whole business plan on this. That might be an option to get this money, but you shouldn't really say that, hey, I will definitely get this. So what's a hockey stick? Well, this is a hockey stick, and this is how it looks in financial forecast. Basically, what you're saying is, I will make a lot of money, which is fine. I really hope you do, but you shouldn't base your decisions on that you will definitely do this. Alright, so the final kind of thing, well, if you have found someone who will give you money, well, how do you practically do it? I mean, he gives you money and then what? Well, for equity investors, typically they get, not typically, I mean, they get shares in your company. But how to decide how you will work with this investor? So the simplest form is articles of association. But they are kind of pretty standard, and they don't necessarily include many things about your cooperation with investors. So, in addition, there are oftentimes shareholder or investment agreements made, meaning you as a founder of the company sign an agreement with investor about how you will go about your cooperation. Well, the things you might consider is corporate governance, meaning how the decisions will be made in the company. For you as a founder, you shouldn't give investor too much veto power or something else. I mean, you want to still run the company and develop it, and you don't want the investor to have investors' permission on everything. But probably the investor would like some kind of control over you. I mean, he doesn't want you to buy Ferrari for his $1 million. So this is what you agree on shareholder agreement. Also, it usually states, well, what happens after some time period if investor wants to exit or you decide to sell the company, and it will include many other terms. All right, so that was my presentation. I hope you have some questions about where to get money.